So in the Pandora's box jungle there is always something happening, and in this video I want to take a close look at this new 2022 model and how cool would it be if you're having like a 2-player or also you have 1-player sticks that you can play all your old school retro game, including some MAME with some awesome, let's say, arcade controls. And I must say, when it comes to these Pandora Games, there are like many mates in the jungle of these devices, and you have some pros and cons that you need to know before you're going to get deep into the rabbit hole, because there are a lot of lead boxes out there, different names, and it is super confusing. That's the reason I basically call this like the freaking Pandora jungle. We live in such a great technology time that we have like very cheap products like this 2-player arcade stick that you can just buy and just have a lot of fun with together with some friends. But there are some things already mentioned that you need to know. So first of all, some of these sticks need to be assembled, and you're going to get some couple of parts that you need to like assemble, nothing really fancy. Also inside the box we're going to get a very long HDMI cable, USB cable, and we're going to get ourselves a very nice manual that explains basically how the menu itself will work. But if people didn't know, it's time for a package from China. But hey guys, welcome back to the channel. It's awesome that you're tuning in. So I wanted to take a close look at this new model. They did a redesign of the case itself, and it is indeed better. What you can do with the stick, for the people who didn't know, is basically you have like the option to play thousands of games. Think about NES, Super NES, Mega Drive, N64, PlayStation Portable, Sega Dreamcast, PlayStation 1, PC Engine, Game Boy Color, Classic, Advance, you name it, you can just freaking play it on a machine like this. But there were some things I did notice I didn't like. Checking out some 16-bit gameplay works perfectly nowadays on these cheap boxes. And take consideration that these are low power devices, and that's the reason why some of the systems will not run perfectly. But the 16-bit will work just fine. But the stuff that didn't work well is N64. I did see it on different systems, and including Pandora's box, where it runs okay with some glitches or minor glitches and some hiccups. But this is basically like cruising the glitch USA, because this thing runs like shit, and you can see like this, it makes it freaking unplayable. A little bit of a bummer, because I think this is not necessary, despite this thing is running on the S905 quad-core chip. They did some awesome things with the PlayStation Portable, including a 2-player, more like offline/online option, so you can play together. It's pretty damn awesome, but sadly the S905 chips are not powerful enough to run this game perfectly, and it is just a problem that will keep coming back, simply because the chips are underpowered and PlayStation Portable is just too demanding. But when you're going to look into PlayStation 1, this is a system that runs perfectly on a device like this. So in my opinion, they just need to stick with the old stuff and just basically just stop adding stuff that doesn't run. And that includes of course N64, PlayStation Portable, and I will show you also when it comes to Sega Dreamcast, because also this system is very demanding. Sega Dreamcast is just an amazing system. But when you want to emulate it on a low power chip like PlayStation Portable and N64, you're going to get some hiccups. But the overall performance is, in my opinion, not really bad. Okay, so it's not all negative, because when you're playing some old school Blood Bros on MAME, I noticed the audio is perfectly compared with other Pandora's boxes that will have like a lot of issues with the audio. So there we're having like some big improvements, especially when you're looking at the first edition from Pandora's box. So overall it's not super bad, and it's still a lot of fun to play some old school games. And in my opinion, if they're using like low and cheap chips, just basically like use the old stuff that runs perfectly on this. So another thing I've noticed with the Pandora Game 3D Plus this is that the Mortal Kombat 1 game is still quite demanding, and it has like a significant loading time. Like compared with other MAME games that boot up instantly, Mortal Kombat 1 still has the same issue with this version, so they didn't improve the loading times at all. Okay, but when it comes to the performance, there we're going to get amazing performance still, like where other Pandora's boxes also like messed it up with this, that having stuttering or unplayable Mortal Kombat 1. Mortal Kombat 1 is a game that will play just fine on this box. So this new Pandora box still have the options to make a quick load, quick save. Doesn't work with every single system. A couple of arcade games and let's say 8-bit, 16-bit will work just fine. But when you're looking into the, let's say, PlayStation Portable, you will not have the option. Still, the menu looks kind of fancy with a search option and a recent list. So in my opinion, one of the best menus. When you're looking at the main board, like briefly over here, you can see like this antenna, and the reason why is that we're going to get ourselves the Naughty Store. The Naughty Store is basically a store that we can enter over here in the settings menu when we're also having the option to put in an image optimization. But the entered game market is, in my opinion, quite rubbish, because I did read like it's going to be like a mixed experience. Some people do have the option to download some game, but they don't install. Some people doesn't even get into the store, and it's a kind of weird thing that they're doing over there. In my opinion, it's really like suck. And overall, like when you're looking over here, we have the option to check the IO testing or the controls itself. If you're having some issues, then we're going to get the option to add some gamepads for 3-4 play mode. So it's pretty damn awesome. But let's take a close look in the inside and what are we going to get, because they changed out some things in the inside and the outside that I wanted to show you in this video. Depending where you're going to buy yourself a Pandora's box or Pandora Games 3D. So this stick that comes with this IYO Gaming device is quite okay. It's a long travel, but not very fancy. So let's remove the plastic. And let's test out the button. The button is just a basic Chinese button, a long travel one. These are okay. But when it comes to the buttons, you're going to get some spare ones, but you can also swap them out for Senwa or better quality. Here you can see the mechanism, but in the end, buttons can be swapped out fairly easy. So at the back, we're going to get ourselves the same connection like always, on and off button. We're going to get HDMI out, VGA out, and VGA is only for normal monitors or CRT monitors, not the special ones in arcades. An input for power supply, stuff like that. USB for the controls, only one USB port can be used. And yeah, still going to get the same issue. Audio jack out, and of course the tiny setting button for getting into the settings. So another thing I like is the bottom part. We're going to get very nice rubber pads. Creates an amazing stability when you're putting this on a table. So let's do a quick tear down, because you need to remove a couple of these screws and we can lift up the cover. Something I don't like is just basically the inside and the way how they adjusted everything. So first of all, we're going to get some weird configurations over here. We're going to get ribbon cables inside this thing with a special PCB that is attached to the EDA connection. In my opinion, it's not great, because I love the old way they connected it. It was like an old school cable 3 that goes into the buttons and no mumbo jumbo and no special PCBs. You can swap out the buttons and the joystick fairly easy. So, but the thing is, I'm not a big fan of ribbon cables, because normally like if you accidentally basically mess it up, you're just going to have an issue. And with an old school cable 3, you can just basically like plug in, plug out, and the cables are like super dirty cheap. So they're still using the same connector, it's just a PCB, so kind of a weird converter. Here we're going to get the antenna for the Naughty Store, but let's take a close look over here. Then we're going to get the speaker. I noticed like this speaker is the same one that I've seen before, but this thing got some minor bass to it. I personally really love it. Okay, here we're going to get the same Pandora's box like always, all the same connections, but let's do a quick tear down. But okay guys, so what you're going to get in the inside is a completely new redesigned mainboard. They get rid of, I say, the old school active noisy fan. They are removing with a passive one. The cooling block looks enough, but it's kind of weird assembled if you ask me. So they need like have a bigger metal cooling block under it. Here you can see like it has a completely different number. We have checked it out with different models. The downside to these new models is we can't use Pandora sometimes, and that's basically software they can use or modify the piece of software. And here you can see it uses the AIM Logic S905 quad-core CPU. And yeah, this is an old school CPU GPU configuration chip. It's not very fancy, and you can see it with the performance with the games. But if you have any questions regarding the Pandora's box jungle, let me know in the comments. Yeah, for now, I would say consider subscribing if you want to have more information. I'm always trying to deep dive into these products, see what is there is anything good. Because when you're looking at this model, they did some adjustments and some, let's say, quality adjustments to the casing itself. But when it comes to the performance wise, they didn't change out a lot of things and still much the same. But I thank you for watching. And again, consider subscribing, hit that little bell, become one of the Wicked family. And it will be great to see you in the next video.